Hal, as long as I've heard your name, it's always been connected with the nonprofit world. Now, that's obviously a choice of yours. When and why did you decide to move in that direction?
Oh, I've always been in this space. Started off in high school as a volunteer. I didn't know what a nonprofit was, but I knew I enjoyed volunteering. When I graduated from school and came back to Nashville, I was looking for a way to volunteer and continue. Couldn't find it, so I ended up starting my first nonprofit organization, Hands on Nashville, which is still thriving today. But I didn't know what a nonprofit organization was. I just knew there were places you went to help others. And it's just been a part of me ever since. I made the big switch to this space in 2001 after an 11-year run in the private sector. And I woke up one day and realized what really made me happy wasn't what I was doing full time. It was the stuff I was doing on the side, the volunteering, the tutoring, the boards, lots and lots of boards. So I made the decision to take, what was my side gig to my main gig. And I went over and started as the executive director at the Oasis Center, and then that just kind of got the ball rolling. I think we all have our own yardstick for how we measure success, and there's no right or wrong. Mine has always been and continues to be today, is what I'm doing today going to have an impact tomorrow? That's it. And so that's what fuels me then, now, and hopefully for years to come.
Where do you think that came from?
I get asked that question all the time, and it just has always been there. I had a grandmother who was very charitable, and she was a real inspiration to me. But I don't know, it's just something that I was born with.
Well, the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee is this area's largest nonprofit, as we all know. You are now its CEO. So first question, what's it been like for you so far, and how does it differ from the other positions you've held?
It's been a lot. It has been a fire hose of information. I've been familiar with the Community Foundation almost since it was started, and I've been a volunteer here and a donor here and friends with Ellen, but I never really understood how complex a community foundation is until I got here. I'd use sort of an airport metaphor. I've been flying a single plane around for years and years and years, a plane that was focused on at-risk youth, homelessness, a plane that was focused on women coming out of trafficking and addiction and prostitution. Always been very singular focused on an issue. And now rather than flying a plane, I'm kind of commanding the aircraft control tower, which is what the Community Foundation really is. I mean, we're looking at all the planes, the ideas that are circling around town, seeing what's going well, what might be in danger, how do we get them all landed safely, how do we communicate better. So it's been a lot of fun to get up into that place and work on a lot of different issues rather than just one.
I think that most people remember the Community Foundation in Green Hills with the bees and the flowers out front. Why the move to this very impressive building on Belmont Boulevard?
Community Foundation had outgrown our old space decades ago. I mean, it was a building at the time that met the need. It was a free building that generous donor had given to us and allowed the Community Foundation to move from a garage where it was operating before then into, an office building. But we outgrew it a long time ago. There was no space to meet. There was no space to welcome the community in. The layout kind of forced people to work in silos. It was time to move. They've been looking for, I think, almost a decade. So this building just didn't happen. Study after study after study was done and finally found this corner and built this building that now I'm hoping will be an anchor corner for the city of Nashville. It's so much fun to have a space where we can open the doors and say, come on in, have your meetings here, have your retreats here, come spend time with us, because that's how community is built.
And we can't talk about the Community Foundation without mentioning its founder and good friend to both of us, Ellen Lehman. What did she do? What did she give to this?
What did she not give to this? I mean, Ellen is an iconic figure in Nashville. And she poured everything that she had 31 years into this foundation. And it shows. It's a solid foundation, pun intended. So to be able to come in behind Ellen, who I've known as a friend for 30 years as well. I started Hands on Nashville when she was starting the Community Foundation. So we were both, founders together figuring it out. So it helped because she trusts me. that relationship and that trust was already there. So she's handing her baby over to me, and I get it. And so my goal is to honor what she's built, but take it into a place that she couldn't even have imagined.
Well, being that rarity, a Nashville native, which is what you are, you considered running for mayor.
I left Thistle Farms with the full intent to run for mayor. I had a team, treasurer. I was 2 weeks from a launch.
So I'm sure that the Community Foundation is glad you didn't run, but what issues would you have most wanted to address? And any advice for our next mayor?
I think number one, just Nashville's prosperity is exciting, but it's a double-edged sword. And that prosperity is not penetrating like it should. We still have over half of Nashvillians trapped in just working poverty. And they can't afford to live here. They can't afford to send their kids to school here where they've grown up. And so that's a real problem. And so how we address shared prosperity and prosperity for all, I think is critical for the philanthropic sector, for the government sector, for the business sector. It's going to take all of us working on that one. The second thing that wasn't an issue so much when I was thinking about running, but it's really become an issue now, is just get political for a minute, just the policy assault on our city. I never imagined we would live in a city where we can't make decisions on how we want to lead and govern, and policies that'll help with spur on more affordable housing or support increased school quality, anything like that can just be overruled at the drop of a hat. So that's a big concern to a lot of us. And I would say probably the third issue would be just our education system that we cannot give up on. I know leaders have come and gone. Some mayors have been all in on the education, mayors, others have not been. We cannot give up on it. It's the majority of our budget. The fact that 3 out of 4 third graders are not reading at grade level, and even less are proficient in math. We all need to be worried about that one. So
what do you think it takes to make a good mayor? Because you were going to run. What did you have to have, you think, in order to be successful at that?
I think an understanding of shared leadership, an understanding of how to focus and prioritize, because you have to prioritize, because there's so much coming at you. Ability to surround yourself with good, smart people and then get out of their way, And then last, I would think just an understanding of what makes Nashville tick, that spirit, that soul of the city that we can't lose. And having grown up here, and I've worked with every mayor since Bredesen, and I've just seen when done well what it looks like, and then when you ignore it, what happens.
What can we look forward to from the Community Foundation from here on out? And how can the foundation do even more to help the community?
So we are at the foundation, we're getting ready. When I got here, I recognized a couple of things. Number one, we had an amazing team, a great staff, but they were exhausted. I think years of COVID, years of trying to be responsive to floods and tornadoes and bombings, systems that have become outdated as we grew, and working in isolation. When you're a community foundation, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. So I just recognized a staff that was tired. And so I've worked really hard to lean in this first few months on culture and creating a culture of shared leadership and empathy and hospitality. First time I walked through this building before I started, I thought, whoa. I'd been in the old building and I knew that setup, and then I came in here and this is a game changer. And we're going to be working across teams and together in ways we can't even imagine. So getting ready for that. I think it's starting to pay off because we were able to move in here with a lot of enthusiasm and a new set of shared values and some employee resource groups that are working on things like hospitality and learning. And so that's been really fun. So now that we've worked on culture, now where are we going to take it? So we're getting ready to start our first strategic plan in probably over a decade.
Wow.
And redefine those and start with just the framework in terms of our vision, our mission, the values. If I were to ask you in 10 years, how do I want you to describe the Community Foundation? Thinking about what that answer should be and what are going to be those strategic objectives that are going to be constant. So we'll be defining that first, and that'll be happening in the next 6-7 months. Then we come in behind and we put the plan and the roadmap for what are the activities, what are the deliverables, who's going to be responsible for it, and build all of that in. So hopefully what it's going to end up in is a community foundation with a renewed sense of purpose and vision that will be able to engage donors in a way of solving problems that we really haven't been. And my goal is to take it from being a very successful charitable bank to a community leader.
Personally, what's the best part of heading up the foundation for you?
The best part of this job so far for me has been getting to know the team here, getting to hear their dreams, being out in the community. Gosh, I've lost track of the number of one-on-ones I've had with other nonprofit leaders, other foundation leaders, donors, Natural Council, our current mayor. Just what is it they want, this foundation? What do they need it to do and to become? And just hearing how much enthusiasm and passion there is for this place. And I'm like, wow, I get to do this. So it's a big honor that on some days it's a little daunting, but I try not to be too daunted, and just focus on what is it that I want to make happen tomorrow, and just take one step at a time. And before I know it, we're going to be doing something just amazing.